Imagine a relationship where your partner is ridiculously attractive, incredibly successful, and widely admired by everyone in the neighbourhood. But inside the house, they scream at you for breathing wrong, spend the entire joint bank account on impulse buys at 11:59 p.m, and threaten to burn the house down every time the dishwasher breaks. Congratulations, you are a Galatasaray fan. You support the biggest club in Turkey, the conquerors of Europe, the Lions. You have the museum full of trophies, the 4 stars on the chest, and the global recognition. So, why does it feel like you are constantly 5 minutes away from a cardiac event? Because supporting Galatasaray isn't a hobby, it's a high-functioning anxiety disorder masquerading as football fandom. The slogan at the stadium is "Welcome to Hell," and for years we thought that was a threat to teams like Manchester United or Real Madrid. But lately, you're starting to realise the hell wasn't for the visitors, it's for you. It's the psychological torture of watching a team capable of signing Victor Osimhen one day and then losing to a team of Swiss electricians the next. It is the burden of Meisler Bizimde, Mays are ours, an expectation so heavy that anything less than total domination feels like a catastrophe. To the outside world, you're the spoiled kings of the Super League, but inside, you're trapped in a cycle of panic, administrative civil wars and transfer windows that take years off your life expectancy. Let's break down why wearing the red and yellow is the most exhausting job on the planet. 1. The European identity crisis, or how to ruin a season in August. Let's address the elephant in the room immediately. Actually, it's not an elephant. It's a lion that has forgotten how to hunt outside of its own backyard. If you are a Galatasaray fan, you live in the shadow of May 17, 2000, the UEFA Cup, the Millennium Cup, that glorious moment when you beat Arsenal and became the kings of Europe. That was 25 years ago. And for 25 years, you have been chasing that high, like an addict trying to recreate their first rush. Here is the reality. You dominate Turkey. You smash the league records. You rack up 102 points. You look at the Super League table and laugh. But the exact moment, you step onto a European pitch against a team that is organised, runs a lot, and doesn't care about your history, you freeze. Take the start of the 2024-25 season. You enter the Champions League playoffs. You draw young boys, a team struggling in the Swiss League, a team with a synthetic pitch and a fraction of your budget. This is a layup. This is free money. This is the Champions League anthem playing in Rams Park. And what happens? You don't just lose, you capitulate. You get physically bullied by players you've never heard of. You watch Fernando Muslera, your captain and legend, lose his mind and kick a guy, getting a red card while the Champions League dream dissolves into the Europa League reality. The why behind the pain? The problem is the big fish, small pond syndrome. In Turkey, Galatasaray wins by sheer force of talent. You have Mauro Icardi, Dries Mertens, and Barış Alper Yilmaz. You can brute force a win against Kasımpaşa or Samsunspor even if you play badly. But in Europe, vibes and individual brilliance get eaten alive by tactical discipline and running hard. It sucks because every summer the board sells you a dream. They talk about the quarter-finals of the Champions League. They hype up the squad depth. And then, by September, you're checking the flight schedules for away days in the Europa League, trying to convince yourself that the second-tier trophy is actually harder to win. It's not stop lying to yourself. The punchline: being a Galatasaray fan in Europe is like buying a Ferrari, revving the engine at every red light, screaming that you are the fastest car on the road, and then stalling immediately when the light turns green, getting overtaken by a guy on a bicycle named Copenhagen or Sparta Prague. 2. The transfer window PTSD, the Fursat fallacy. If there is a hell specifically designed for Galatasaray fans, it is the last 48 hours of any transfer window. Most clubs have a strategy. They have scouts. They have a list. Galatasaray has the opportunity transfer, Fursat transferi. This is a polite Turkish phrase that translates to, we panicked, waited until everyone else finished shopping, and now we're rummaging through the clearance bin at 3 a.m. Let's look at the trauma of the recent windows. The fan base was screaming for a midfielder and a right back for 2 years. What did you get? You got Zaha, who is now gone. You got Teat, who is now gone. You got Ndombele, who played with the intensity of a man who just ate 3 plates of Iskender kebab before kickoff. And then the 2024 shocker. The board spends the entire summer arguing with each other. The legendary Erden Timur, the man who actually built the championship team, leaves. The fans are in mourning. The window is closing. Everyone is furious. And then Victor Osimhen. Suddenly, one of the best strikers in the world lands in Istanbul on loan. The airport is on fire. The fans are singing. It is the greatest heist in history. You have Osimhen and Icardi in the same team. It's a cheat code. You are elated. But wait, you still don't have a settled defence. You just sold your most dynamic winger, Kerem Aktürkoğlu, to Benfica for a price that feels like a robbery against you. You're playing a 3-5-2 formation purely because you have too many strikers and not enough wingers. The why behind the pain. The transfer strategy is pure dopamine addiction. The board doesn't buy players to fit a system. They buy players to win Twitter arguments. They buy stars to silence the critics, regardless of whether the manager Okan Buruk actually needs them. This leaves you, the fan, in a constant state of bipolar disorder. One minute you are depressed because the team has no left back. The next minute you are euphoric because you signed a global superstar. Then you realise the global superstar is on a 1-year loan and might leave in January, and the depression comes back. The punchline: supporting Galatasaray during the transfer window is like going to the grocery store to buy milk and bread, but coming home with a live tiger and no food. Sure, the tiger is cool and the neighbours are jealous, but you're still starving, and now there's a tiger in your kitchen that you can't afford to feed. 3. The toxic ex-girlfriend syndrome, the Kerem paradox. If you want to understand the psychology of a Galatasaray fan, do not look at the trophy cabinet. Look at the comments section under any official club post. Galatasaray Twitter, or X, whatever, isn't a community. It's a digital coliseum where players are fed to lions daily. We call this the Yang and Taifa, the fire crew. Their job is to panic, scream and demand resignations the moment a match ends in a draw. But nothing summarises this toxicity better than the Kerem Aktürkoğlu saga. For 4 years, Kerem was your Harry Potter. He came from the lower leagues, Erzincanspor, scored goals, kissed the badge, and did his little magic wand celebration. He was the captain. He was one of us. And how did you treat him? You bullied him, relentlessly. You called him the headless chicken. You made compilations of his bad first touches set to clown music. You screamed that he lost the ball too much. You said, if we sell him, we will finally play real football. You treated him like the old sofa in your living room that you were desperate to throw out so you could buy a sleek, expensive Italian leather chair. So he left. He went to Benfica for $12 million, or which, by the way, is pocket change in modern football. And then the ex-girlfriend syndrome kicked in. You watched him score a hat-trick in the Champions League for Benfica. You watched the Portuguese fans fall in love with him. You watched him do the Expelliarmus celebration in a stadium that actually appreciated him. And suddenly, the timeline changed. We betrayed our son. Come back, Harry, we didn't mean it. Who needs tactical discipline when you have magic? The why behind the pain. This is the core defect of the Galatasaray fan. We only value what we don't have. When Kerem was here, we wanted Wilfried Zaha. When Zaha arrived and played like he was on a casual Sunday stroll, we missed Kerem. We bully our own players until they break, and then we mourn them when they succeed elsewhere. It is a cycle of emotional abuse where the victim is also the perpetrator. The punchline. Being a Galatasaray fan means spending all summer screaming, "Sell him," and then spending all winter watching his highlights on YouTube with Marvin's Room playing in the background, wondering why he looks so happy without you. 4. The Boardroom, a Netflix drama written by a drunk person. If you think the football on the pitch is stressful, try following the club's administration. At most clubs, the board's job is to sign checks and stay quiet. At Galatasaray, the board is a 24/7 reality TV show featuring lawsuits, accusations and sponsorships that sound like they were generated by a chaotic AI. Let's talk about the black market ticket scandal. Imagine this. You want to go to the derby against Fenerbahçe. You go to the official website, sold out in 3 seconds. Bad luck, you think. Then you check the secondary market. There are thousands of tickets available for $5,000 each. It turns out there was an alleged scheme where tickets were being siphoned off to the black market, generating millions of euros that definitely weren't going into the transfer budget. What did the club do when journalists reported this? Did they launch a transparent investigation? No. They sued the journalists, because nothing says innocent like aggressive litigation against the people asking where the money went. But it gets weirder. Remember the Maydanoz Döner sponsorship? Only at Galatasaray could you have a scandal involving a fast food kebab chain. The club signed a sponsorship deal, put the logo on the shirt, and then, oops, it turns out the company allegedly had links to terrorist financing networks. The club frantically scrubbed the logos from the website, deleted the tweets, and pretended it never happened. 1 minute you are the conquerors of Europe, the next minute you're accidentally laundering reputation for a controversial doner kebab franchise. And in the middle of all this chaos, while the team is out of the Champions League and the fans are rioting online, your president, Dursun Özbek, is accepting an award for Francophone Personality of the Year. Not Best President, not Financial Wizard. Francophone Personality of the Year. The why behind the pain. The club is run by the Liseli, the high schoolers, the elite graduates of Galatasaray High School. This creates a Game of Thrones dynamic where internal politics matter more than external success. They would rather rule over the ashes of the club than let an outsider run it successfully. It creates a vibe where the enemy isn't Fenerbahçe or Beşiktaş, the enemy is the guy sitting 3 seats down in the boardroom. The punchline: supporting this club administratively is like watching a man set his own pants on fire, and then, while his legs are burning, he stops to accept a trophy for best dressed man in a francophone country. 5. The neighbour from hell, living rent-free in the special one's head. If supporting Galatasaray is a mental illness, then Fenerbahçe is the trigger event. In most football rivalries, you hate the other team for 90 minutes, maybe a day or two after the derby. In Turkey, the rivalry is a 24/7, 365-day propaganda war that requires you to be a lawyer, a forensic accountant, and a conspiracy theorist just to keep up. This season, 2024-25, was supposed to be the end of you. Fenerbahçe pulled the ultimate power move. They signed Jose Mourinho, the special one, the man who parks the bus and wins trophies. The global media told you, it's over, Mourinho will eat Okan Buruk for breakfast. And what happened? Galatasaray went to their house, Kadıköy, and slapped them 3-1. You didn't just win, you embarrassed the special one. You made him look like the average one. You watched Gabriel Sara provide assists that belonged in the Louvre. You watched Mourinho skip the press conference because he was too salty to speak. So why does it suck? Because the noise never stops. You'd think beating your biggest rival comfortably would bring peace. Nope. You have to deal with the yapı, the structure conspiracy. This is the narrative that Fenerbahçe and their media machine push every single day, that there is a deep state structure in Turkish football designed specifically to make Galatasaray champions. It doesn't matter that you scored more goals. It doesn't matter that you got 102 points last season. It doesn't matter that you beat them head to head. According to the narrative, you are the villain. You're the dark arts club. You spend half your life on Twitter defending your team against screenshots of VAR lines drawn by 14-year-olds in MS Paint. You can't just enjoy a title. You have to write a thesis defense on why it wasn't rigged. The punchline: beating Fenerbahçe feels great for exactly 4 hours. Then you check social media, see a 40-tweet thread from a rival account explaining how the wind direction was manipulated by the Galatasaray board, and you realise, I am trapped in a simulation with the most annoying neighbours in the universe. 6. The curse of the prince, the Icardi heartbreak. Let's stop laughing for a second. Let's talk about the pain that is fresh, raw, and absolutely devastating. Let's talk about Mauro Icardi. For 2 years, Icardi wasn't just a striker. He was a cult leader. He was a pop star. The song Aşkın Olayım, Let Me Be Your Love, became the unofficial national anthem of Turkey. He dyed his hair blonde, and suddenly 50,000 Turkish men were walking around Istanbul with blonde hair, looking like botched Eminem clones. He made you believe that true love exists, and that true love is an Argentine with a mate tea in one hand and a goal in the other. And then came the Tottenham game, November 2024. You play an incredible match. You beat a top Premier League side 3-2. Osimhen is flying. The team looks unstoppable. And then, in the dying minutes, Icardi goes down. He clutches his knee, ACL tear, season over. The why behind the pain: because nothing good at Galatasaray comes without a blood sacrifice. This is the rule of the cosmos. You want to sign Victor Osimhen, one of the world's best strikers? Fine, but the universe demands a trade. You must sacrifice the knees of your beloved king, Mauro Icardi. It sucks because Icardi was more than goals. He was the vibes. He was the guy who mocked Fenerbahçe on Instagram at 2 a.m. He was the guy who brought the team together. Now you have to watch him on the sidelines, smiling through the pain while you cry into your pillow. You're now left with Osimhen, who is amazing, yes, but you know he is just a rental. He is the hot rebound guy you're dating while your husband is in the hospital. It feels dirty. It feels wrong. The punchline. Being a Galatasaray fan is winning the lottery, but on the way to cash the ticket, you drop your phone down a sewer grate. Sure, you're rich. You beat Tottenham. But you can't call anyone to tell them about it because your heart, Icardi, is broken. 7. The VR room roulette. Or, why every match is 115 minutes long. You might think that watching a football match is a simple activity. 90 minutes, 2 halves, a whistle. In the Turkish Süper Lig, and specifically for a Galatasaray fan, a match is a hostage situation that can last anywhere from 2 hours to 3 business days. We don't play football, we play wait for the VAR. Here is the standard Galatasaray match experience in 2025. You score a goal. Osimhen jumps 8 feet in the air, heads it in. The stadium erupts, the music plays, but you don't cheer, you don't hug your friend, you don't smile, you freeze. You stare at the referee, he is touching his earpiece. He has that look on his face like he's trying to order a pizza in a crowded club. Is it a hand? Was it offside 45 seconds ago? Did Torreira breathe too aggressively on the midfielder? You wait. 3 minutes pass. The players are standing around drinking water. The broadcast shows the same replay in super slow motion, which makes a gentle tap look like an attempted homicide. The referee goes to the monitor. Rule of thumb: if a Turkish referee goes to the monitor, the goal is cancelled. It doesn't matter what happened. He's walking over there to find a reason to cancel it just to prove he's in control. The why behind the pain? Because in Turkey, referees don't manage the game, they manage the narrative. We call this eyyam. It's the art of trying to keep everyone equally unhappy so nobody accuses you of bias. If they give a penalty to Galatasaray in the first half, you absolutely know in your bones, that they will give a soft penalty to the opponent in the second half to balance the books. This means you can never relax. Even if you are winning 3-0 against Boardroomspor, you are terrified. You know the compensation call is coming. You're watching a sport where the rules change based on the vibe of the stadium and the trending topics on Twitter. The punchline. Watching a Galatasaray match requires the patience of a saint and the blood pressure medication of a 90-year-old. You don't celebrate goals anymore. You celebrate the restart of play. That's the only time you know it actually counted. Final thoughts. The Stockholm Syndrome, why we never leave. So, let's recap the life of a Galatasaray fan. You support a club that builds you up in the summer only to break your heart in European qualifiers, sells your favourite players and replaces them with chaos, is run by a boardroom that treats lawsuits like a hobby, is locked in a toxic, eternal screaming match with a rival managed by Jose Mourinho, costs you a fortune in merchandise, tickets and therapy bills. By all logical metrics, you should quit. You should go watch tennis. You should support a nice stable club like, well actually, there are no stable clubs. But you should definitely stop doing this. But you won't. And here is the sick, twisted truth. You love the misery. You love it because when it works, when the chaos aligns, it is the greatest drug on earth. When Osimhen scores a bicycle kick, when Muslera saves a penalty in the 90th minute to win the title, when the stadium sings Sen Olsun Bari and the ground literally shakes, when you lift that trophy in May, because let's be honest, Mayasla Bizimde, there is no high like the Galatasaray high because the lows are so incredibly deep. You endure the hell because you are addicted to the heaven that comes after it. You are part of a tribe that thrives on crisis. If Galatasaray was a calm, well-run, boring club like Bayern Munich, you would hate it. You need the drama. You crave the noise. You are a lion. And lions don't sleep peacefully, they hunt, they fight, and occasionally they get scratched. So, wear the jersey, scream at the TV, cry over the transfers, because at the end of the day, you aren't just a fan of a football club, you are a survivor of the greatest reality show on earth. Basically, supporting Galatasaray is like riding a roller coaster that is currently on fire, but hey, at least we have the best view. Subscribe for more suffering.